The Civil War Museum of Kenosha, Wisconsin examines how the American Civil War changed the people and communities of the 6 states of the Upper Middle West: Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin during this turning point in our nation's history. The museum tells the personal stories of the men and women of the region and how social, political, and economic influences contributed to the start of the war. From the home front to the railways and waterways to the battlefield and home again, the Civil War is seen through the eyes of soldiers, nurses, spouses, children, free blacks, slaves, and tradesmen through first-person accounts and personal stories. The museum is located on the beautiful shores of Lower Lake Michigan, making it an ideal stop for both students of history and people who want to enjoy the natural beauty of our freshwater harbor. While it is true that the majority of Civil War battlefields are far away from our museum, that does not mean that this area did not play a major role in the conflict or isn't rich with Civil War history. In fact, the 6 states of the Upper Middle West supplied nearly 750,000 troops to the Union Army and provided much of the raw materials and food used to equip and feed the massive army. In the Upper Middle West, immigrants from other parts of the United States and foreign countries combined with free African Americans and Native peoples to form a diverse population. With the formation of these new states, political, social, and economic questions persisted about the region. What were the attitudes of the Westerners on the questions of slavery and emancipation? Would the people of the Upper Middle West play an active role in the Underground Railroad, or would they conform to the restraints of the Fugitive Slave Act? Would the area's political identity be influenced more by the Yankees of New England or the agrarian planters of the South? The exhibits of the Civil War Museum immerse visitors in the 19th century by placing them on the street of an 1850s town during a political rally, or in the parlor of a family debating the dangers of harboring a fugitive slave. From meticulously researched and recreated architecture to the interiors of trains and ships, the museum brings the experience of the civilians and citizen soldiers to life within its galleries.
Why, hello there. I'm Reverend Asa Bailey from the First Presbyterian Church.
Within the gallery, the Civil War Museum combines original artifacts with photographs, dioramas, mannequins, sound effects, and painted murals to present the military experiences of officers and enlisted soldiers. The Camp Life diorama shows how the soldiers passed the time in camp by writing letters, cooking food, playing games, or mending clothes. The artillery area depicts the men of a battery loading and firing their Parrott rifle from a fortified position. In the medical diorama, wounded soldiers lie in the courtyard of a home awaiting the attention of a doctor or a nurse. These exhibit areas illustrate the sacrifices these men made and the hardships and dangers they endured while serving their country. Within the gallery, changes in the physical surroundings also signal changes going on in the country. For instance, as people enter a recreated riverboat, they learn the war is over and President Lincoln has been assassinated. By interacting with characters on board, visitors see the high price the war has extracted on the civilian and military populations. Children anxiously await being reunited with their mother after the passing of their father, and a soldier wonders how he is going to re-enter his profession as a carpenter now that the war has left him with only one arm. Life in an upper Middle Western town was very different in 1870 than it had been in 1850. Wartime demand for manufactured goods and food brought increased revenue to the farms and communities of the area, but there remained constant reminders of the cost of such prosperity. Orphanages were built to care for children whose parents did not survive the conflict, and soldiers' homes were created by the government to care for men disabled by wounds or disease. Veterans groups remembered fallen comrades by instituting Decoration Day, later renamed Memorial Day, and by erecting monuments in cemeteries, town squares, and battlefields. 4 years of fighting nearly destroyed a generation and the nation. But the bloody conflict ended slavery, created a strong national union of states, and eliminated the threat of secession. It also affected American life in surprising ways that linger even today. The generation that built monuments, parks, and cemetery memorials as a reminder of their sacrifices and loss is itself a distant memory. As we walk the streets of their hometowns in our modern times, let us honor their memory and recognize what they have done.